It's March the 5th, 1945, near Lindfurt in Germany. Under blood-red clouds, a column of American tanks snakes its way forward. At the front of the column, commanding the head of A Company, is Captain Cowboy Tucker. Tucker surveying the town from the turret as his Shermans push forward. There's a crack. Tucker sees the flash coming from a building. His heart sinks as he hears shouting from the Americans behind him.
Sniper!
And a man has been hit. The shout goes up.
Medic! Medic!
There's no time to waste.
Sniper ahead! Open fire!
The column zeroes in on the building and lets loose with everything they've got. Chunks are blown out of the brickwork as the tanks join in. There's not much left of the building, as eventually the sound dies down.
I think we got him.
Tucker reports it in.
Able Company reporting contact with the enemy. Advise how to proceed. Over.
He's told to push forward and to secure the side of the town, and then go on to secure a bridge crossing a canal on the route to Rheinberg. It seems to Tucker like a rash decision. There's no artillery support, and the tanks would be going forward with only a few infantry and reconnaissance. Tucker checks the command.
Shall I bypass and double the recon column and keep on going?
Enemy appears to be infantry only. Keep moving.
He's already questioned headquarters orders. Now he has to go. He encourages the men.
We're taking the west side of the Ville. Hi-ho, Silver!
And the tanks trundle forward. The column pushes through Lindfurt and heads on towards Rheinberg, splitting into two when they encounter a fork in the road. There's a clatter against the armor as bullets rake the tanks, but it's nothing the trusty Shermans can't take. It's almost too easy. Tucker, though, is on alert. It seems odd. Americans are pushing towards the Rhine. There should be serious resistance, not just an occasional sniper or small arms fire. It's then Tucker spots something. In the distance, there's a movement somewhere in the trees. As he takes in the scene, Tucker instantly understands everything. Horror fills him as he looks back at the column. They're not in formation to deal with this. This is an ambush. He shouts down at his driver.
Get off the road! Find cover!
The driver guns the engine, and the tank starts to accelerate. But it's too late, and all hell breaks loose. The thunder of German tank guns coincides with a huge explosion on a medium tank, followed immediately by another and another. The escorting infantry pile out of their trucks, but under heavy fire, they don't get far. Already there are 5 American medium tanks burning, each exploding in turn. The escorting infantry are at once pinned down by 20mm cannons and machine guns. The column tries to move. There's a huge explosion and smoke. Tucker looks to his left. Mines! One of the American tanks is pouring smoke and fire taken out by an anti-tank mine. The men are trapped in a perfectly laid killing zone. He's a fighter, and his first instinct is to fight back. He shouts into the radio.
Company A, under heavy fire, request immediate reinforcements.
But the scale of the trap dawns on Tucker. He can see Rheinberg in the distance, and it seems to him that every crevice, dip and embankment on the way to Rheinberg is punctuated by a muzzle flash. A long wall of German defense. There's no way through. Tanks and men fall under the withering fire. There's no artillery support, and the infantry hug the ground, unable to advance. Next to Tucker, a truck catches fire and begins burning. If they don't withdraw, the company will be slaughtered. It's hopeless. Tucker admits defeat and gets on the radio to order a retreat.
Pull back!
As they pull back, the Germans intensify their fire, and the Americans suffer under the assault, reversing back all the while under heavy fire. The US tanks try to shoot, but they're still largely in a column, and with the anti-tank mines, they can't maneuver to get a clear shot. Under extremely intense fire, they manage to retreat to the point that the Germans can't get a clear target. The company has been battered, but what to do? They can't go back. Tucker gets on the radio again and establishes a plan. It's agreed. They'll try and bypass the trap by heading along a dirt road to the northeast and get to secure the bridge at Rheinberg that way. As the tanks push forward along the dirt road, the American crew look out the observation periscopes. Their nerves are taut as they realize the Germans are now using every strategy they can to keep the Americans from reaching the Rhine. Then Tucker notices that it seems like there's something up in the road ahead. In the road. There's a momentary glimpse of a German helmet, then smoke, then a clang as a Panzerfaust zips towards the lead tank. Inside, there's a deafening clang, but it glances off the turret. Then the rifle and machine gun fire add to the orchestra of sound. The men now realize that the road is riddled with enemy foxholes. Another man with a rifle or Panzerfaust appearing every 10 meters or so. It's not looking good. Tank tracks, fuel tanks, turrets all begin exploding and fragmenting, showering the men nearby with shrapnel and burning gasoline. One tank veers off the road, intending to take the fight to the enemy, but anger and concern grip Tucker as he sees this. He frantically tries to raise the crew on the radio.
It's a trap!
Only to see the tank hit a mine, which shreds the underside. Further ahead of the wreck, German forces race through a network of zigzag trenches and operate anti-tank guns of all sizes, including the ruthlessly effective 88mm pack, booming German revenge upon the advancing Americans. They can't sit there, and so Tucker's tanks dash for cover into a patch of wood, hoping to find relief. As soil kicks up and branches fall, they meet the German defense head-on. They're finding themselves in the hornet's nest. Tucker's troops can only press forward, firing wildly as they do. Enemy infantry appear. Tucker's tanks mow them down. A truck is spotted through the trees and erupts as a tank shell causes it to burst into flames. Anti-tank guns fire and hit the column, but the Americans zero in on them and fire shell after shell until they are silenced. But they're not out of the woods yet. Tucker's tank crew are rocked from another side. The shout goes up.
Mark 4! Mark 4!
As a German Panzer IV appears to the left. Before the Panzer gets a chance to reload, the Sherman turret swings, takes aim, and fires, penetrating the hull of the German tank. The Panzer IV billows smoke as the crew scramble from the burning wreck. As the battle progresses in the jaws of the German trap, something incredible is happening. The American tanks seem to be making headway. They pick up speed and settle into a rhythm, charging through the trap and destroying everything in their path. Tucker even starts to enjoy himself. He picks up the radio and reports in.
I'm killing Germans left and right. Just got a Mark 4 tank. Having a good time. I also got a truck and a half-truck.
At that moment there's a thump and Tucker's tank comes to a halt.
What the hell? We're hit!
Tucker realizes they've taken a hit. The crew are safe, but the tank is going nowhere. Checking his men are okay, jumps out of the tank. There's battle going on all around, but he runs to the next Sherman in line, all the while dodging enemy fire. Tucker bangs on the hull and assumes command of the tank, and then carries on with the push forward. Please support the channel, comment, like, and subscribe on this video. Incredibly, A Company forces their way through the trees and emerges to a point along the Fosse Canal Road. Tucker sees their destination in the distance. Going north, they can reach the canal bridge and can capture a potential route into Germany beyond. Tucker rallies his men.
Come on, boys! Yee-haw!
Giving the yell as he does so, and the force pushes on. Hoping beyond hope they can get across the bridge. The company gets closer and closer, scarcely able to believe their luck. They withstand the German fire and are within sight of the bridge. On the opposite bank, a German soldier wrestles with the detonation cord, twisting it around a shot exploder as .30 rounds crack and smack overhead. He spots an American infantryman who levels his rifle at him. The German twists the handle. The American fires. The German's hit in the shoulder, but activates the charge. A plume of bricks and dirt shoots skywards as the bridge detonates. Masonry and dust fall down upon the tanks and rains on the men. Tucker looks on in fury. The bridge is down, with nowhere to advance. The tanks slow, and A Company stalls. They're sitting ducks. Heavy fire from all sides tears through the tanks and infantry. Across the other side of the blown bridge, more German anti-tank guns join in the fight. The tanks fight back as best they can, taking out the crew of one of the packs. But the Germans quickly get the gun operational as another group of soldiers man the gun. They wear down Company A. A Sherman takes a round to the engine and burns up to Tucker's right. Tucker carries on, choosing targets for his main gunner while manning his 50 cal Browning, while his coaxial gunner cannot but hit the enemy with every burst. It's a frantic firefight. There are just 5 tanks left now. The Cowboy sees a track running parallel to the canal. He orders the tanks to make a run for it. The 5 tanks speed as fast as they can up the road, all the while under heavy fire. There's a boom, and a Sherman gets taken out. And then another. There's only 3 tanks left now. Tucker's Sherman rocks under the impact of an anti-tank round. It throws the crew with a sudden jolt, and the tank grinds to a standstill. With ears ringing, Tucker shakes his head and checks himself over. He reaches over with his right hand. Something's wrong. Looking down, he can see that, strangely, his left arm isn't there. It takes a moment for it to sink in. He stares at the space where his arm should be while sounds of the battle rage around him. Incredulity turns to anger, and anger turns to action. With fury, pain, and bravery burning in his veins, he reaches down with his one good hand and slings his gun over his shoulder. Picking up the radio, he snarls into it,
"I'm a one-armed cowboy now. Let's go, cowboys."
With that, he leaps out of his stricken tank and lands on the ground. He unslings his gun with his one hand. The Germans are met with a demon from a western. The fury of the one-armed cowboy, eyes burning like fire, shooting all the while. It's a sight to chill the soul. It seems like a dead cowboy has returned back to the living for vengeance, and many enemy fall to his rounds as he continues his one-man charge. It was to be the Cowboy's last stand. Saved by Tucker's quick thinking, the 2 remaining tanks took cover in farm buildings, and the crews fought throughout the night and survived the battle. The very next day, the Cowboy's remains were found alongside many Germans that met their end from the one-armed cowboy, who was posthumously awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for his actions. By the morning, through heavy fighting, the town of Rheinberg was taken. The west bank of the Rhine was now under Allied control, and the war was in its final weeks, but it came at a high price. The Americans had lost 41 tanks and 131 men. Today, Rheinberg is a small town with a population of around 30,000. It doesn't look like much of a place on a map, one rural town among many in Germany, but it holds a special meaning to the men of the 36th Tank Battalion. They battled on, forward, against a fiercely resisting and well-dug-in enemy. Rheinberg, to tankers of the 36th, recalls narrow escapes from death, and the day when the battalion was tested in the flame of battle and emerged seared but victorious.